Hello all. In this video, we'll talk about two more basic git commands. One is git difference and the second one is git ignore. Coming to git ignore command, let us imagine a situation where you have added a documentation file and as well as the log file to the git repository, one of your git repositories. Okay, you have added documentation file so that if a new developer joins your project, he can refer the document and understand about the project. But you don't want Git to actually track it. You just want to put that file in your repository, but you don't want Git to track it. So if you see this example, I have created this readme.md file. So this, like, I have added few information to this file which would be useful for other people, but I don't want Git to track it. So if I create a file, what Git automatically does is it will show this file under this untracked files list. So I don't want Git to show like this. I want my file to be present in my folder, but I don't want Git to show like this. So for that, like to overcome this situation, what Git provides us is you create a git ignore file in your folder or in your repository, and to git ignore file you add this file. Okay, so what we have to do is you create another file git ignore and say that and add this file name. What is the file name? I don't want to track readme.md, so you add readme.md to the git ignore file. So what Git does is it won't show that file under untracked file, but the file is present in the folder, but it won't show up here. Okay, so coming to the git ignore. Okay, so git ignore is a file which contains list of files that are not tracked by Git, right? So whatever files you want to ignore by the Git, you have to add those files in the git ignore. Like every time every time you can't add a list of file names, so sometimes you want to ignore files that ends with .log, files that ends with .a. So you can use patterns as well. It's not just you have to specify the full path name and the file name. You can add the patterns. So coming to the syntax of the git ignore file, these are few properties of git ignore file. So if you have a blank line or if your line is starting with hash, so those are ignored. If your line is starting with hash, you consider that as a comment. It's not the actual file name. Okay. Now this is the sample example of git ignore file. Here these lines are starting with hash. These are just like comments. Like it will explain what is there here. Like here I have added star.txt. What it will show here is ignore all .txt files. It's just a comment here. So and even here you have blank files. Those are also ignored by the git. Like if a line starts with hash or if it is a blank line, those are ignored by the git. And coming to the second one, standard glob patterns work. Like you would have heard about these regular expression patterns, regular expression patterns, right? So here, as I was saying you, instead of using the full path name and the full file name, you can specify the pattern also here. So coming to the first line, what I have said is you ignore all .txt files. Here, whenever you specify star, it means that star means one or more character. Okay, so let me write it here. Whenever I specify star here, it represents one or more characters. Okay, now star.txt means the file should end with .txt before you can put anything. So what it means is you ignore all .txt files. Okay, so that is the meaning of this first command. And coming to the second command, right, sometimes what you want is you want to ignore all .txt files, but there could be one file that you don't want to be ignored by the git. So here it will ignore all .txt files. but there is this version.txt file. I don't want Git to ignore it. So that case, what you will do is you will negate it. So exclamation mark is like not. Usually in the operators also exclamation is mark is for not operator, right? Here the same thing is applicable. So you ignore all .txt files, but not version.txt. So this is the meaning of this particular line. Coming to the second line, like this line. So what it means is, suppose I am in the root directory or root path. Okay. Even in a repository, you have multiple folders, right? So the slash includes the current directory. So in current directory, how many, like ignore this readme.md file. Okay. So what this says is, in my current directory, if readme.md file is there, you tell Git that not to track it. Okay. And like if you have a situation like you want to ignore readme.md files, not just the current directory, even there can be files present in subdirectories as well, right? So if you want to ignore all readme.md files that are present in current directory and its subdirectory, then you can use this pattern. Okay. So what this 2 says is, 2 says that you include the subdirectories as well in addition to the current directory. So whenever you see 2 in the git ignore file, it means that subdirectories are included. Okay. Now this is applicable, this slash is applicable only for the current directory, right? Let's say you want to ignore files that are present in hello directory. Hello directory can be present anywhere. Okay. Whatever files that are present in hello directory, if you want to ignore, you have to specify the directory name and the forward slash. Okay. This line represents that. So coming to this line, so you want to ignore all .java files present in the hello directory, and hello directory can be present anywhere, but whatever Java files that are present in the hello directory, you want to ignore that. So this is the pattern that will be helpful in that situation. Okay. Now there comes another case, like in the hello directory, not just the hello directory, even if you have Java files in the subdirectories of the hello directory, you have to ignore it. So as I was explaining here, whenever you see 2 you should consider that as a subdirectory. So here what this particular line represents is, ignore all .java files that are present in hello directory as well as its subdirectories. Okay. I guess you have got a little idea about how git, like how to write a gitignore file, right? So let's explain this with one working example. Okay. Now coming here, let me show the repository, my repository, how it looks. Okay. E-commerce, if you see in the e-commerce, I have hello direct, like hello folder, hi folder, hi txt folder, and in the hello folder also I have hello txt, and in the text file, in the text folder, you have this notes java. Okay. So how many txt files are there? I have one txt file under the root directory and another txt file under hello directory. Now let me write git status here. Okay, when I write git status, what it is showing, hi.txt is not tracked. Under hello also you have hello.txt, that is not tracked. But I want to ignore all .txt files. Okay. For that, what I'll create is, I'll just add this first line. Okay. I'll create a .gitignore file under my project. Okay. So to .gitignore file, what I have done is I just added this first line, ignore all txt files. Now if you see here, hi.txt was showing up here, right? Now let me run git status again. If I run git status, that hi.txt is not present here. Why? Because in git ignore I have said that not to track .txt. So that's why from the next time onwards, hi.txt was not shown here. But you can see the dot ignore is like showing here because dot git ignore file was added and you have to push it to the repository. Then only it will identify what files to be ignored, right? So from this, what you understood is hi.txt is ignored. Okay. Now let me create another file version.txt and show up. Like first I'll create a version.txt here. Okay. So this is version text file. Let me create that. Let me save here version. Now I'll run git status. So version.txt is not shown here because in git ignore it is ignoring all .txt files. Now if I want to ignore all .txt files but not version file, what I have to do? Let me add this condition, negate condition. So and I'll save this. Let me run git status again. If you see now, version.txt is shown here because in my .gitignore file, I mentioned version.txt to be tracked. That's why hi.txt is not shown here, but version.txt is shown because I put this negate condition. Okay, you got it, right? Let me run this third line. Okay, third line, what it shows in the current directory, ignore readme.md file. Okay. Now, if you see here, readme.md is shown here. Now to the git ignore, I have added to ignore readme.md. Okay, I have saved my git ignore file. I'll run git status now. So if you see readme.md is not shown here because to git ignore, I have said that readme.md should be ignored. Okay. But if you see, even in the hello folder also readme.md is there. This is not ignored because I have put only to ignore readme.md files under the current directory, not the subdirectory. This is my current directory, okay? And readme.md is ignored. But inside hello, this is not ignored, okay? So let me add the other condition as well to ignore all readme.md files, not just under the current directory, but subdirectories as well. I'll run git status again. Okay. When I run git status again, you don't see hi folder here because if you see hi folder, readme.md file was there. Okay. Before hi was shown here, but now hi was not shown. Why? I have told git ignore to ignore readme.md files present under subdirectory as well. So hi folder, you have only one readme.md file. Now it is ignoring the subdirectories files as well. That's why hi folder was not shown here. Okay, you got it, right? Let's run this example as well. So this line says ignore all files present in the hello directory. Okay. Now before adding this, hello directory was shown here. Now when I run git status, you don't see hello directory. Why? Because hello directory is completely ignored. Okay. Ignore all files in any directory named hello. Got it, right? Now what I'll do is I'll remove this condition and I'll add this. What I'm doing is you ignore only .java files. You don't ignore all files present in the hello directory. You just ignore the .java files. Let me run the git status again. Before doing that, let's see what is present in hello. In hello, you have .txt file, but this was already ignored because you have added this file, this line. And readme.md was also ignored because you have said to ignore readme.md present in subdirectory as well. And then only notes.java and the test folder was not ignored. Let me run now. Git status. So if you see git status now, hello is not ignored because the line that is present here is it is ignoring only .java files. So .java file is ignored, read md dot file is ignored, and hello is ignored. But still you have test directory, right? Inside test you have nodes. Okay, because nodes.java is present, you can see hello directory here. You might get one doubt, like I've asked gitignore to ignore all .java files, but why this nodes.java is not ignored? Because you have just specified to ignore .java files under the hello directory, not under the subdirectory. Okay, like if you add this line, okay, let me add this. Now, if I add this line, what happens is readme.md was already ignored. Hello was already ignored. Nodes.java was already ignored. If you go to the test directory, this nodes.java also will get ignored now because I have included subdirectory as well. Now, let me run git status. So if I run git status, you can see only .gitignore and version.txt. All other files present in my project are ignored because I have written gitignore in such a way that to ignore all txt files, .md files and all .java files. That's why all these files, whatever I have created, were ignored. And what happens is like there is no restriction that you should put just a single gitignore file in your repository. You can put multiple gitignore files. So when I say multiple gitignore files, it's not in the same folder. Okay, now this is my root directory. In the root directory I have added one gitignore file. Now inside test I can create one more gitignore file, and inside hello directory also I can add one more git directory file. So whenever you add gitignore files in those folders, those laws, whatever the rules you put in the file would be applicable only to that particular directory. Okay, to that particular directory or its subdirectories. So the rules will be applicable starting from the directory. Okay, you can have multiple gitignore files. Okay, so you have understood, right? This is very important feature because in most of the situations there are cases where sometimes when you build it, automatically binary files gets generated and you don't want to push those binary generated files. So in that case you have to ignore that. So what you can do is you can just specify the extension of the binary file so that it would be ignored by the git. So this is very important feature that everyone should be aware of. So let's see the next command, git difference command. Okay. Now, in the previous video, I had already explained you git status command. So what git status command does is it will show you the files that are modified or that are staged both in the working directory and the staging directory. Okay. So what it does is it will give you the status of the files that are present in the working directory, and it will give you the status of the files that are present in staging area as well. But that information was too vague. It was not clear. It will just show you what are the files that are changed. It won't show you the actual content of the file that was changed, right? So let me run it with one more example. Okay, I have created version.txt right here. So if I run git status, what it will show? It will show untracked file version.txt. Now, what I'll do is I'll add version.txt to my staging area. When I run git status again, what it will show is new file version.txt is added. Let me commit it. I'll commit with the initial commit. Yeah, when I run git status, it will show only .gitignore. Now what I'll do is I'll change the content of the version text. This is second line of version text file. Okay. When I run git status now, what it will show that version.txt is modified. It will show version.txt is modified and it is not moved to the staging area. But it will not show what is modified, right? So in few cases you want to see the difference what is modified also. For that you can use git difference command. Now when I ran git difference command, it will show. If you see here, this is first version, which was not like it in the working directory. You have this version.txt file changed, right? Here it will show this is the new line that is added. So this before you had only this is version text file. Now whatever appears green here, those are the newly added lines. So this is second line of version text file is added. If you see, this is the line you have added, right? That will be shown here. Okay. So what git difference command does is it will compare the working directory and the staging working area and the staging area, and it will give you the difference. Okay. Now this is my working directory, right? In my working directory, I have this second line of version text file. But in the staging area, what you had? In the staging area, you had only this is version text file. Only first one you had. So that's why it will show the difference. Okay. Now let me move this particular line. Okay. This is second line of version text file to the staging area. To move to the staging area, what I should do? I should add it using the git add command. I'll run git status again. So if you see, this is moved to the staging area. Let me run git difference now. So if you see git difference now, you don't see anything because uh, git difference command, what it does is it will see in the working directory what changes you have made. Okay, now you don't have anything. You moved it to the staging area. So like if you see this in if your file is present in the working directory, then like if the file is not staged for the commit, then you can view the differences. But now what you have done is you have moved, like when the file was in working directory, when the file was not staged for the commit, then you have seen the differences. But there might be situations where you have staged your file, and after staging the file you might want to see the differences. In those cases, what you can do is git difference command will not give you the result. So what you can do is git difference staged. So when you do this, what it will show is in the staging directory, whatever file you have, it will compare that with the commit that was present. Okay. In the staging directory, you have this two lines, but in the last commit, you have only one line, right? So what it does is compare my staging area contents with the last snapshot contents and give the difference. Okay. That's what it says. That is what you can see here. The git difference command, what it does is compare my working tree changes with the last staging area changes and give me the give me the difference. Whereas minus stage, what it does is compare my staging area changes with the last commit. So like if I draw and show you how the flow appears, first you have the snapshot changes. Okay. Now, initially you have your file in the working directory. Whenever you add, it will move to staging area, like ST represents staging area. From staging area, it will go to the snapshot. So, git difference, what it does is it gives you the difference between these two. It will compare the changes of working directory and the staging directory, and it will show those changes. What git difference / stage does is it will compare these two, what was there in the last snapshot and what is there currently in the staging area. So it will show that. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll commit it. Git commit -m second commit. Let me run git difference. Now git difference will not show you anything because you don't have anything in the working directory now, because in the working directory you did not modify anything. Okay. And in the staging area also you don't have anything. That's why differences are not shown. Let me run git difference - staged. This also will not show anything because you have already committed it. You don't have anything in the staging area. If you have something in the staging area, then only it will compare with the last commit. You don't have anything in the staging area, that's why it did not compare. And here also you don't have anything in the working directory, that's why it did not compare anything. Let me run, let me make one more change. Okay, this is third line of version text file and save that. Git difference. So in the working directory, currently you have a file. Okay, if I run git status, what it shows is in the working directory you have this modified file. So what it does is it will compare my content. Like in the working directory, I have a change. Okay, I have a change. I have an modified file which is already tracked. It will compare with the, if it will compare with the staging area part. Okay, last one. So what it will show is you have added this third line, right? That will show up here. Now let me add it. Git add version.txt. Git difference. Now you don't have anything in the working directory, right? Because I have moved this change to the staging area. That's why git difference will not show. If I run git difference staged, then it will show this. This is third line of version text file. It will show up here because you have something in the staged area. It will compare with the last commit. Now what I'll do is I'll add one more change. Okay, this is fourth line of version text file. When I do this, you have something in your working directory, right? And you have something in your staging area as well. I'll run git difference command. So if you see here, what it will do is it will show the, this is like this line is newly added because in my staging area, I have up to 3 lines, like up to 3 lines, these were staged and only this file is present in the working directory. Okay. So this is git difference command. Git difference command will give you the detailed view of the changes. Whereas git status, it just shows which file was modified. It doesn't show you what was modified, right? Thank you.